Hello and welcome back to College Disc Golf News with me, your host, Nickens, breaking down this weekend in disc golf. And we've only got one thing going on this weekend, and that is one of the major college disc golf events for the year. This is the Midwest Collegiate Takeover, one of the few events that attracts teams from all over the country to play at the prestigious Northwoods Black and Northwoods Blue courses in Morton, Illinois. This is going to be a super fun one to break down and to talk about. And so, yeah, we are going to go ahead and just jump right into it. Make sure you leave a like if you like, and make sure you subscribe. This gets it out to other people and helps grow college disc golf. So make sure you guys are also leaving some comments. Let me know what you like, what you think about the videos, and yeah, excited to hear y'all's thoughts. So, for the Midwest Collegiate Takeover 2, there is a few things to note. They're going to be playing at Northwoods Blue for 2 rounds, one round of singles, and then a teams round. Teams rounds are in the morning, and then the singles round is in the afternoon, at least for D1, that is. And then there'll be a round of Northwoods Black teams with tee times. So teams tee off different points in the day and they go out and play Northwoods Black. So there's 3 rounds total for this event. Now, many of you are probably familiar a little bit with Northwoods Black, so I'll break that down here in a little bit just to kind of remind you of some of the things about it. But let's talk about Northwoods Blue. You kind of see that on your screen. It is a 6,200-foot course, very technical. It is kind of the old Northwoods course before Black was installed. This is a mix of kind of the gold layout before Northwoods Black plus the original Northwoods Park course. It is kind of your typical Woods Park course. It reminds me a lot of Winged Deer Park where I'm from, except there's a lot more challenges. The gaps are a lot tighter. And so you're kind of putting yourself in these different positions, and you still have, that Northwoods signature difficulty of scrambling. You can't get off of the fairway. You need to be on there. Otherwise, it's probably an immediate bogey. You've got holes like this hole 5 that are pretty much like, hey, if you stay in the fairway, you throw 2 good shots, you're going to be able to pick up your birdie. Hole 2, and pretty much an easy 198-foot par 3 if you're able, again, to miss the trees and get there. There's also some difficult tunnel shots, as you're seeing right here on hole 6. Again, very difficult. You're going to have to get through pure. It is a tough shot to get that par. But, I mean, if you throw a good shot, you can get down there and even down there for the birdie because you throw the tunnel and it fades off to the left. Now, a difference between Northwoods Black and Northwoods Blue is that there is some more open areas. I feel like sometimes, especially talking to guys, you can feel like you have to throw perfectly these shots. Northwoods Blue is a little bit more forgiving in terms of, you do have some more open areas. You can kind of get lucky through the trees a little bit more. Whereas Black, if you're off, man, good luck. Scramble is awful. 8 is a typical one of the difficult holes on Blue. You've got this tunnel shot for about 150 feet that then leads out into a little bit more of an open area. You can kind of bail off to the right, but this is definitely, again, another hole that you're trying to take par on if you don't have the shot or the distance for, or you're kind of playing safe to really get up there. D1 guys are pretty much looking at this like, hey, I'm throwing a straight shot and getting there. Yeah, that's a fun part. But this course is definitely a little bit more scoreable than Black. Hole 10 and 11, there are these back-to-back holes, which you have these kind of low-lying trees that are forcing you to play a shot where you're trying to go under all of these trees. Kind of this low, piercing, straight shot to the basket. Hole 11 is a par 4, which is 604 feet, which again, you're trying to pierce through all these baskets. Singles round, these are must-gets, and especially in teams rounds, you should be able to get a couple guys to get these holes to get in birdie. If you hit a tree early in your singles, you can still pretty much pick up an easy par. Whereas the front nine holes that I was talking about, a lot of these are like if you're staying clean, you're keeping par, you're going to shoot really well. If you're not doing that, man, it's going to be really difficult. So you're looking at 10 and 11 as kind of these like must get birdies. And really, other than like maybe 14, 14 is kind of a little bit of a bonus birdie. I mean, 15 through 18, you have these not soft par fours, but less in distance, right? They're definitely not. They're very technical. They're short. They require you to throw some really tight shots where there is woods and brush all around. However, I mean, if you can throw two putter shots 200 feet straight, keep it in the fairway, you're going to be able to get these birdies. These are not, the most difficult holes in the world. Hole 16, par 4 for 62. Hole 18, par 4, 600 feet. I mean, these are going to be, spots that you're like, okay, back nine, I'm looking to score, probably around 5 down, hopefully, if I'm looking at a D1 player. And if I can stay clean through hole 1, pick up, those extra birdies on hole 2, hole 6, I can look at myself and have a really good score heading into it. And again, this is definitely attackable for the D2 guys, especially D3 might have a little bit of trouble. I mean, even the ladies, these are I think they're maybe playing the short layout. They can definitely score on this. So there is ability to score on all this course, yet you still have the kind of Northwood signature, keeping it in the fairway, playing well, and making sure you're not getting out of bounds. All right, let's talk about Northwoods Black for a second. Of course, iconic, over 10,000 feet. You're throwing almost 2 miles of course, walking three. I mean, it is a very tough, technical, long woods course. That is what Northwood is known for. Now, you got par 3, hole 1, 455 feet. That is a really difficult starting hole, nervy, especially when you're coming out here for the first time. Got to be able to get into the fairway, and some of these guys, the upper D1 guys, they're going to be able to start off hot. So I mean, the big thing is, I think last year the average for teams rounds for at least D1 was around 4 to 7 down, right? Unless you're Cincinnati, who shot 14 down teams at Northwood Black. That is so impressive. Are they going to be able to do it this year? Unsure, but that's kind of the range, right? Really, Northwoods Blue is the place that you're going to set your lead. But as Cincinnati shows, if you have a bunch of guys who can shred, who can throw, really consistent in the fairway, you can get these holes. So hole 1, that's a fun one. Hole 2, par 4. 580, you kind of got this shot up the hill, and then you're going to throw down the tunnel towards the basket. I think a lot of those are very gettable for these D1 guys. Par 4, 604 foot on hole 3. Kind of throwing those backhand turnover, or if you've got the touchy forehand, getting down here into this bowl, and then you've just got a wall of trees heading into the green, and if you can throw it clean, you can pick up an easy birdie. Hole 4, you've got another long par 4. Hole 5, you've got a dogleg par 4. Hole 6 is a par 5 through the woods tunnel. I mean, again, you see these long technical stretches of holes. Par 3, hole 7, you finally get a break with a par 3, 325 feet, another difficult par 4 on hole 9. Hole 8 has another easy par 3 that you want to get. I mean, these are no, easy shots, and even with two guys out here, it's still so difficult. And let's talk about the iconic hole 12, par 6, if you will, 10,050 feet. You've got basically, you want to get around the corner towards the base of the hill, throw across the creek, and if you can get up to the top of the hill, that's great. You might be able to get a birdie if you're there, but you still have to throw a super technical and touchy shot through a wall of trees that if you easily hit, one of them, you can shoot off into the woods. And if any of your tee shots with two players get off into the woods, it is going to be so difficult. You finish out the straight with two more par threes, two more par fours, and a par five to boot. It is a gauntlet of wooded, treacherous, very difficult shots. You're going to have everybody on your team on, right? You can't have anybody, being off, because if one person, doesn't execute their safe shot, if one person doesn't execute into the fairway, man, that puts so much nerves on the next player who's got to go up there and find a way to get your team in the best position to save par a lot of times. Like, I'm not joking. Like, you're getting off on the woods on Northwoods, you might be taking, a big number. As even in teams rounds, if you're not careful, you can make a bad shot worse. And so you have got to throw well, you've got to play well. There's creeks, there's elevation, there's dog legs, there's just so much going on, and you as a team, you got to be able to execute together. So let's talk about teams. Let's talk about who is showing up this weekend for the event. All right. You already heard me talk about them earlier, right? Cincinnati is back. They don't even have to qualify, and they're still here. They're gamers. They love playing disc golf. They want to be there. You've got the highest rated team in the country. You've got Emporia State there with three of their 18 guys all there. I think they're missing one. Micah Tartro is filling in as well. You've got bid winners at the Minnesota Collegiate, Illinois State. You've got Missouri coming in. You've got the University of Illinois, who's really solid. Milligan University from Tennessee is going to be there. Got Kansas. University of Wisconsin, who has a solid team, is going to be there. Iowa State, who was a bid winner in D2 at Minnesota, is going to be there. Kansas State, who won the conference event for Mid America, is going to be there. Purdue is going to be there. Arkansas is going to be there. Asbury, who has a pretty solid team, is going to be there. Tennessee Tech is going to be there. Man, it is a stacked roster in D1. D2, you have Kentucky, who's going to be there. You have Bradley, who's going to be there. You have Purdue, again, Kansas State's team, who's really good, is going to be there. Southern Illinois, Northern Iowa. Cincinnati's B team and Milligan, all going to be there. This is an absolutely stacked regional. I probably putting the numbers, unless Cincinnati and Emporia play another regional together. Like, again, the toughest level of competition at this regional. Bradley, Illinois, Iowa State. Just so many good teams. I think for the weekend, we have 6 guys all over 1,000 rated in D1, and that is the most at an event this year. Then, if you want to count the guys that are 980 and up, you have another 8. So 16 guys, all 980 and up, all playing this weekend. And even still, for D2, you're kind of around hovering that 950 mark for a lot of guys. Well, you still got about 16 guys in D2 who are around that 950 mark, okay? That is the best so far in terms of ratings of guys over 1,000, guys over 980, guys over 950. This is an absolutely stacked weekend, and so it's going to be very difficult to predict. I think I'm going to mention some honorable mentions, because this is the first time that, I felt pretty confident about, how many teams have the ability to get a bid. As I mentioned earlier, Illinois State and Cincinnati already have their bids, right? So that's 2 teams knocked off who cannot receive an extra bid that somebody else can get. So even if you finish in 5th this weekend, and that is, say Illinois State and Cincinnati are 1st and 2nd, you can finish in 5th and still receive a bid, right? That is huge. So 5th place is a really important marker this weekend, even in D1. Now in D2, you have a similar problem, right? You have Kentucky, who's going to be there, and Illinois State. So if either of them finish in the top 5, that is another team that can finish in 5th place and still receive a bid. So this is the first time we're seeing this weekend. A lot to work out and talk about. So let's go ahead and jump into what is going on. So for D1 this weekend, I've thought over it, and I think that this is really going to come down to a battle between Cincinnati and the Emporia. They're the two best teams there in terms of their history, their ratings. I mean, these guys are so solid, right? It's going to be between them. And I do think that Cincinnati is going to take it down. Anytime you have a team, I don't know if they're going to even compete to the level of like scoring 14 downs at Northwoods Black, but I think if they play up to their potential, they've only lost one guy. They're locked and loaded going into this year. I think they're going to win it. I think they take it 33 down. I think last year they finished 34 down. I've got Emporia State second. I understand maybe some of you Southerners, as myself, be like, those boys play out in the open. They can't score on this Woods. No, this is a super solid team of guys. Carter Aarons, all of these guys. They know how to play in Woods. They played all over the place. This is not like, there's going to be some, they're in the Midwest. They can't throw through the Woods. No, these guys know how to play. I like them there. I also like Illinois State at home. This is not their home course, but, they're very much around in the area. They love playing here. They play here all the time, so they have a lot of course knowledge. Being able to have that, staying and sleeping at home is really important. So I like them at 29 down. Then I've got Milligan University in fourth at 27 down. They don't have all of their guys there, but I still do really like them. I think they've got a really solid group, and they played well here last year. They very much could easily take a bid here. Fifth place, man, this was so difficult. I was mulling over between Purdue. I was looking at Wisconsin, even Missouri, Iowa State. I mean, this fifth place spot is going to be pretty coveted, and I just did not know who exactly to pick. I think at the end of the day, what I landed on, I was like, okay, I want to see teams that have played well in the past so far. Who do I know is going to be able to play well here, and who can play at a similar course. And I think I like Kansas State. They played the Fair Monster layout and won in Kansas and in Manhattan, Kansas. And I think that now it doesn't have the elevation, is nowhere near as difficult, maybe in the same way as Northwoods, but it's a similar course. It has similar vibes, in terms of the distance and what you have to do to execute. And if they can do that there, I think they can do that here in Morton. I think I like Kansas State the most. However, do understand Purdue and Wisconsin both have really good teams, so they're honorable mentions. Look out for them. I would not be surprised if either of those teams made it into the top five. This is going to be a battle. Do not be surprised if there's a playoff for a bid, for that last spot. It is going to be treacherous and difficult and a dogfight the entire weekend. Now for D2, we have a similar problem to this past weekend at Mid-Atlantic where, man, there is just not a lot separating these teams. There are so many guys at a similar level in terms of these top teams. And so it really is going to come down to who is playing the most consistent that weekend. There's not one team that really stands out above the rest, in my opinion, other than Cincinnati. They're locked and loaded for this year. They're always playing really good. They are a team who is always, taking down and winning at, this high level. I mean, they beat Dayton and Ohio State pretty handily in terms of their D1s teams. And Dayton and Cincinnati are not bad. Like, they are not bad teams at all. And so I like Cincinnati here. I also really like Illinois. This is technically, I think, their A team. Yeah, this is A team. So they've got Dalton Hastings, 993. He is the highest rated guy in all of D2. So I like him be able to lead those guys into a second place finish there, 24 down. 26 down was the highest round last year, and then it went down to 20 down. I think if a lot of guys play these more consistently, and especially Illinois, who has the course knowledge, I think they'll be able to play well. Then I've got Mizzou at Mizzou at 3. I think they look really good this weekend. I think they have a very solid track record. I think they'll look good as well. They've got it's looking for team chemistry and solidity. That's what I'm really looking for, and I think Mizzou has that. Then I've got Milligan at 20 down. Again, they have a bunch of really solid guys all around 920 and up. That's what I'm kind of looking for. They've played well together. At D2, I think they've only lost once this entire time, and they've played 3 or 4 events, so be on the lookout for them. And then I've got kind of sneaky pick. I've got Bradley. I like Bradley here. They always play really well, and especially around in Illinois, so be on the lookout for them. They wouldn't surprise me if they move up higher on this list. Also, be on the lookout. Illinois State, they're still playing well. Southern Illinois, I like them as well. I think they just have a kind of some of those guys in the 880s, high 880s that I think I'm not sure about and their play here. So something to look out for. University of Kansas, they're no slouches either. They got Curran Mock, who is the D3. I rank the number 1 D3 player in the country. He's been playing super solid and playing way above his rating. Brock Kuhlauer is not a slouch at all, so you could see Kansas potentially get up into that, that 5th position, potentially, up there into the higher levels of D2. And you also got Western Michigan. I like them as well. They're not a bad team. Those are all teams to look out for. I think if you have the ability and time this weekend, be glued to your phone a little bit. Look at these scores. You could see a lot unfurling in singles. Singles again is so key and critical. And if you're getting through that front 9 clean, you can definitely score on the back 9 and do a lot of damage and move your team up into the rankings because, I think everybody's going to be able to score in teams at Blue. Singles is a different story. You got to be able to keep it in the fairway. We've actually got a good amount of ladies playing this weekend. Unfortunately, we only have 2 teams, and they're both coming from Illinois, but we have a lot of ladies playing for singles, and there'll be some good content from Illinois. They always do some stuff that's really fun. And there is some teams that are coming together, I think some mixed teams, so that'll be fun. I don't think it'll count towards rankings that much in terms of, if Missouri or Tennessee Tech can move up in the rankings, but it'll still be cool to see. Now, I've got Emily Beecher. She top 10 finisher at Nationals last year. She also plays really well here. I think she won last year, so I would be on the lookout for her. She's really good, so I think she's going to take it down in first. Then April Smith, who's really solid from Mizzou. I like her in second. Then Keely Oldham. She is also really solid from Iowa State. I'm going to put her in third. Kyra Sims, very sneaky, underrated. She played really well at Harmon Hills a couple weekends ago, which is more open than Northwoods, but still you got some technical woods lines that she had to hit through, and so she can definitely score at Northwoods Blue, so be on the lookout for her. And Amelia Isaacs, I don't know much about her from Illinois State, and I'm excited to see what she does this weekend, but I've got her in fifth. All right, and the people have spoken. I've given in to peer pressure. I'm talking about D3 this weekend. There's a lot of teams to talk about and that have played already, so I feel a little bit more knowledgeable on it and wanting to talk about it. So D3 this weekend, I've got Milligan taking it down at 8 down. I think they have the most solid group of guys. They have beaten D2 teams and some D1 teams even. So they're really solid. A lot of these guys play well in the woods and have even played this course before. So be on the lookout for them. Then I've got Purdue. They look really solid in D3. Watch out for Kenyon Utterbeck. I like him a lot to do well this weekend. Then I've got Illinois State led by Sean Burdo. Sean played really well at the Minnesota Collegiate. Now he can do well at a very similar course from Kaposia to Northwoods Blue. It is going to be tighter and more technical than Kaposia, but similar vibes. He played well there. He can play well at Northwoods Blue. And then I've got Tennessee Tech Purple at the 4th position. They play well. They do have some good solid guys there. But, I'm unsure. This is probably a lot of their first times playing this course. They're very solid, but John Looney is going to be able to lead that team well. I'm just not sure how well they're going to be able to score at some of these more difficult places. They do have a similar course in Spartan Summit, but Northwoods is a whole different beast. So that is what I've got for this weekend for the Midwest Collegiate Takeover. Let me know your thoughts on the weekend. Who've you got winning it? Who've you got taking this down? Any insights if you're at the course, how you're enjoying it? This is one of the premier events of the year for college disc golf, so make sure that you are let me know. I'm excited to see all that comes out. I'll be keeping up with it throughout the weekend. And so, yeah, I'm excited to hear your guys' thoughts. So let me know down in the comments. And again, make sure you're keeping up on the Instagram. You can also always listen on Spotify. Shout out to Spotify listeners who are just listening to me ramble a lot and wish they had the images for it. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.